Day 1. By the time Gertie, Sivan, and Rachel got to school, the rest of the sophomores were already there. The other students were gathered in a pack on the front lawn of the school, listening to Mr. Kenner and Ms. Deats, so Gertie, Sivan, and Rachel hurried to catch up with them. Ah, Gertrude Santinello Smith, Sivan Finkelstein, Rachel Miller, Mr. Kenner said, ignoring the horrified look on Gertie's face when he used her real name. How nice of you to join us. It's my fault we're late, Mr. Kenner, Rachel said sweetly, batting her eyelashes at him. I'm really sorry. My mother was sick this morning, and I had to make breakfast for my father before he left for the church elders committee meeting. Gertie marveled at how easily a lie formed on Rachel's lips. They actually were late only because Rachel had taken forever to fix her hair. Sivan stared at the ground because she wasn't good at maintaining eye contact with disapproving adults. She just wasn't used to it. Adult disapproval was a real rarity in Sivan's experience. Her professor parents adored her so much they'd even started a PFLAG chapter in her honor at their synagogue, which made Sivan deeply uncomfortable. Rachel wasn't particularly accustomed to adult disapproval either, but she had no fear of it. Not when she was sneaking out of class to blow football players in the bathroom, not when she was doing lines of coke off the actual altar in the chapel at church camp, and certainly not when she was 15 minutes late for a school trip. Rachel had the kind of blonde hair and blue eyes and perfect skin and perfect tits that made her a standout in any crowd, and more than one good Christian son and father entertained impure thoughts as she stood in front of the huge megachurch congregation, singing a solo. Meanwhile, her parents beamed proudly from their seats, convinced their daughter was the most religious person since actual Jesus. Okay, Rachel, Mr. Kenner said in a way that made it obvious he didn't believe her. Well, you're all here, so let's get to the important stuff. All of you need to listen up and keep your eyes on me and Ms. Deats. That means you too, Sivan. Sivan looked up and nodded obediently. Of the three of them, Sivan was probably the one Mr. Kenner liked the most. As long as you tried hard in his class, he liked you, even if you weren't good at math. That's why he was most tolerant of Sivan, who tried very hard and happened to be great at math too. Gertie gave it a reasonable shot and made B's, so she was all right by Mr. Kenner most of the time. Gertie gave everything in life a reasonable shot and played by the rules without fail. But Rachel doodled pictures of cute animals on her tests and never showed up for the early morning or after-school tutoring sessions Mr. Kenner offered. She also never did any extra credit assignments to bring up her grade. Therefore, he was obviously indisposed to any fondness toward her, though it seemed to bother her not one bit. Rachel found most men rather amusing, and Mr. Kenner was no exception. Then there was Ms. Deats, who was just a real sweetheart. She was nice to everybody, even the kids who were rowdy or disrespectful or made fun of her hippie jewelry. Today she was in top 23-year-old hippie form, wearing a long flowing purple skirt, Birkenstock sandals, a T-shirt that read "Be the Change," and big Native American dreamcatcher earrings that you just knew she'd bought on a reservation when she went for a sweat lodge ceremony or something where the locals charged the annoying tourists an exorbitant fee for an authentic Native experience. She was the kind of person who had a story about every article of clothing she wore. She'd tell you, too, if you so much as glanced at a chunky turquoise and silver bracelet or a rose quartz ring. Okay, students, Ms. Deats said, clasping her hands together and smiling brightly. You all know the 3 strikes you're out rule, but the principal requires us to go over it every single time we take you on a trip. She gave a little chuckle, as if to indicate that she thought it was silly. That's because it's very important, Mr. Kenner said seriously, furrowing his brow. 3 behavioral infractions and you're suspended. School trips require good behavior because you are representing Flemington High School to the entire world, especially in Washington, D.C. He glanced sideways at Ms. Deats. And there's an additional rule for this trip. She winced a little. Well, I'm sure it won't be a problem. We need to tell them anyway, Mr. Kenner said. Okay, Ms. Deats said reluctantly. Well, The principal has decided that any student who gets 3 infractions will not only be suspended from school, but will take summer school classes before being permitted to enter the junior year. This will go on your permanent record." The students looked at each other in disbelief. Some of them groaned. Others said, "What?" "That's not fair," Brooklyn said. She was standing with Peyton and Kaylee, and they were wearing matching blue T-shirts and white short shorts, because of course they were. What's the point of being the most popular, best-looking girls in school if you don't wear identical outfits? "I mean, I am obviously not going to do anything wrong," Brooklyn said, laughing her nasty little laugh and casting a snide glance at Rachel. "But for some of the people who are prone to misbehavior, it doesn't seem fair." "It seems fair to me," Mr. Kenner said. "That's the rule." "Well, I'm sure people will behave themselves," Brooklyn said sweetly, staring at Rachel again. "Even the ones who don't usually exercise self-control." Rachel looked right back at her and smiled, waving. "Don't piss her off," Gertie hissed to Rachel. "I don't care how she feels," Rachel said at a normal volume, "if she has actual feelings." "What's that, Rachel?" Mr. Kenner asked sharply. "I'm really looking forward to the Air and Space Museum," Rachel chirped. Mr. Kenner's expression softened a bit. He even had a hint of a smile. "It's my favorite museum in the world," he said, and you could tell he meant it. "The history of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration is fascinating." "I agree," Rachel said. "So much beautiful math." Sivan tried not to snort. Rachel was so ridiculous sometimes. When Sivan looked up, Peyton was glowering at her. Brooklyn was staring daggers at Rachel. And Kaylee, who was the stupidest member of the cunt triad, was narrowing her eyes at Gertie. Kaylee had no reason to hate Gertie, other than that Peyton already hated Sivan, and Brooklyn already hated Rachel. Sivan sighed. It was going to be a long trip.